If you're tired of pretending you're okay while your body and mind are screaming for help, you're in the right place. Welcome to Unmasked Health. Anyway, let me get back on track a little bit. I could talk all day about
Yes,
that
ma'am.
kind of stuff. But so in closing, I have three
Okay.
questions. What do, and I'm not saying that you're a lonely man, but you have experienced some adversaries in your lifetime. What do lonely men wish others understood? What do you think you wish a man that was, how would you talk to me? What would you want me to understand about you as a lonely man?
It's kind of a sideball. I guess just that even though I'm very reclusive and to myself, I still like to get hugs. It's okay if you want to give me a hug. There's a person at the grocery store I actually took out for dinner one time. When she sees me, she always walks up and gives me a hug. Now, it's okay to give us hugs. You just make sure we're okay with it. But don't take it personally if we're very quiet. Don't take it personally if we're don't have a whole lot to say. Like there's another guy at the grocery store. He's too sociable, and like I'm not saying I don't like people that are too sociable, but I get annoyed if they don't respect the fact that I'm an introvert. I feel like I'm getting off topic. Am I making sense?
No, you're not. Does he know that you're an introvert?
Huh?
Though? Does he know that about you? Does he know that about you, that you are
I
an
mean, I
introvert?
didn't tell him, but I always kind of think like, why don't people
Okay.
just pick up on the fact that I just don't feel like I don't want to talk? Some people just don't like talking. I just cannot stand small talk. Like I know growing up, my family would have parties at our land, and I would, people sit around the campfire, socialize, shoot the breeze, and I would always just go off on an adventure. I'm like, oh my God, this is killing me. I hate listening to all this chatter.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that. There's nothing wrong with it. There's not anything wrong with that at all. Nothing at all. What would you tell a man who feels alone right now?
Reach out, try to get at least one person in your life, I guess. Like if it's your apartment manager, don't be too clingy to her, but get somebody, man. Find someone you can talk to. I think the parasocial relationships are better than nothing. I have, at least I have maybe a couple friends on Facebook who I talk to, but it's just something about it doesn't feel it just feels superfluous. And so whenever I talk to, that's it. When I talk to somebody in real life, even just the apartment manager, or the lady at the grocery store, it just totally, I don't know how else to put it. It just makes me feel much better than if I didn't talk to anybody that day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is a key point that I hope that people take away from this episode, is that even though you may feel lonely and maybe you don't feel like it's okay for you to reach out, you can still, just, go 10 toes with the devil that day and reach out to somebody, just fight against whatever negative, just negate whatever's going through your head that, the devil's trying to keep you in that silo, I guess, and reach out. And not that you have to be extroverted every single day of your life, but at least one day a week or once a month or whatever, just so that you can still have some of that natural human commodity, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, because you lose that part. And I just don't know how I would feel. I would have to be stranded on an island completely by myself for me to not ever want to interact with anybody. I wouldn't be able to. That would be difficult.
It's just that
And
humans are hardwired to be social creatures, and so when we're not doing that, we're not living in our purpose. It's like a bird that can't fly.
well, I don't think God would have made the human race if we were not intended to commingle with one another. I think he would have focused more on the animals then at that point. If humans were not supposed to be among one another, then we may not even be here. He may have just been like, okay, well, I'm just going to make a bunch of animals.
I'm gonna
That's just my take on
the
that.
animal.
Anyway, what What gives you hope for the man
I
today?
think that what one of the things that gives me hope is that this is finally being talked about when people talk about males loneliness epidemic. It's like they're specifically saying males. It always just felt like it was like sexist in a way, I guess, to um, acknowledge that men struggle as well, and it just always kind of felt like, uh, and it probably just stems from the whole societal be a man, don't be a crybaby, step up. Whereas
Mhm.
now society is a lot more open to things like the fact that, men get anxious too. We get depressed too. We get um, sad, scared, etc. And it's just always, it gives me hope that this is finally being, the door is open to talk about it without there being some sort of stigma surrounding it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very important that other men see a male such as yourself being so open and talking about it. I also think that within the healthcare world, when you do finally have a male patient, listen, I don't have a 50-50 ratio of men versus female patients. I have more
Yeah,
female patients. But when you get that male patient, I think that it's dire moment that you take that
yeah,
time with them to go even just 10 extra minutes to go, hey, let's check in on your mental
yeah,
health today. Or let's check in on your, what's going on with your social life or whatever. I practice that way. That's just the way my heart is. I know other providers are
yeah,
not like me and other healthcare people are not like me, and that's okay. I just wish that it became more of a habit for
yeah.
healthcare world to pay attention to our males like they do
This
females.
is the thing about men, and I can speak from my own experience, is that we just don't, in many cases, we just don't share it, like even with our healthcare professionals, if we're depressed or anxious or whatever. I know I see my nurse practitioner two times a year, and this is on me, but sometimes I get real depressed, but I leave, I don't say I'm depressed. You get some sort of panel to fill out before you show up. And so where it says, on a scale of 10, 1 to 10, how depressed are you? And I always just go, oh, I'm fine. Don't worry, I'm fine. But in my mind, sometimes I kind of think like, man, Cody, why don't you one day just write, I'm depressed as fuck, just to see what she would say. But I just, I'm speaking as a man when I say this. It's just, I don't know why. It's just something that's very hard for us to do.
Is it because you're vulnerable at that moment?
Yes and no. It's I maybe in my mind, maybe on a subconscious level, I think like, well, whatever. She can't help me anyway. Or I think like, well, she would just tell me to go take Prozac or something, and I'm kind of hesitant to do that because most of my family members are on psychiatric medication, and I know I seen a shrink one time, and she said, "We're going to before I put you on meds, I want you to change your habits. Drink less, try to socialize more, and she said to exercise more." And I did the more exercise thing, and I tried to socialize more, and the drinking thing, I kind of tried to cut back and didn't do so to a meaningful extent. So Um, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it, it's just
It's
one of those
okay.
things that I, if I wanted to be less like when I'm under the weather, if I wanted to be less under the weather, you know, go out and socialize like the therapist suggested, and then maybe cut drink less. How does that sound?
Yeah. So yes, I'm gonna talk to you then. Anytime that you are at your doctor's office, you're a nurse practitioner, whatever, it's not gonna send bells and whistles off, if you openly say, I'm at a level 5 right now with my depression
Okay.
or whatever that is. But for sure it is it's a very it would be a very releasing thing for you as a man,
Mm.
first of all, to finally go, hey, I just want to talk to you about my depression or talk to you about how
Okay.
I'm feeling versus versus you just keep trying to snuff it out. You're like, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. She didn't have time to talk to me. Those are just like, just subpar excuses. And you're trying to displace that on your provider that she probably wouldn't care, or she doesn't have time for you, or whatever. I think that your provider, if you trust your provider enough, that you should be able to open up and say, hey, I'm a level 5 this time, or I'm a level 8 this
Yeah.
time, or whatever
Okay.
that looks like for you. Um, and if you're not comfortable with doing that yet, then yes, by all means, do some cognitive behavior therapy. And that is like music therapy, walking, which you
Yeah.
do a lot of, reaching out to a friend, that kind of stuff, meditating,
Yeah.
whatever. But you could
Okay.
do those to help with your mental
Yeah.
health when you're having those
Yes,
moments.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm under the weather, I'll go run around for a bit. As I thought out, my
Yeah.
apartment has a fitness center. I've been going there a lot. On a similar note, I take this stuff for blood pressure called the Cinepril, and it look at you
Yeah.
can see like my face is all red from being out just walking to the store and back because this stuff makes me really sensitive to sunlight. And so I've been
Really?
running at the leasing office a lot at the fitness center. So that's something that I do a lot. If I'm under the weather, I'm like, oh, you know what? There's a treadmill. I'll just go run on the treadmill until I listen to some, jam out to some music. And um, but
Does that
yes,
help you?
yes, I can't remember. And also lifting weights, I can't remember. I think it was something to the effect of it releases endorphins. Is that the word? When you
Yes. And it will also release
Yes,
testosterone.
and so
Definitely.
that's a big thing to do. I know when I was in college, I was studying depression for uh, essays and things like that. And one of the things I found is that exercising has a very similar effect to, um, you know, moderate antidepressants.
Yeah. It can. That's the reason why a lot of times, people that would rather not do medicinal therapy, we do a lot of the cognitive behavior
Yeah,
recommendations. And it's because we naturally have those
yes,
hormones, the dopamine, the serotonin, and it helps release some of that. And sometimes people have to have the medicine so
yeah,
they can hold on to that dopamine,
yeah,
serotonin in their brain. But not everybody needs medication, and it's okay. It's always okay. I'm just going to close it out to say that it's always okay to be open and to admit, I need some help, or I want to talk to you
yeah,
about this, or I need a hug from somebody, or I'm struggling, and I've been struggling. And just because you're a man does not make you weak. It actually for us as a woman looking on the outside, on the outside of a man's box, it actually makes us feel secure, more secure with a man who is open with his own
yeah,
emotions, because that means he's going to take care of my emotions if he's taking care of
yeah,
his own
exactly.
emotions. And if he's taking care of his health, then he's going to make sure I'm taking
Yeah.
care of my health. So it's actually a good thing,
And, and
but it's hard to break
and
habits.
it's another thing is that man is generally going to be safer to be around because when men, I don't
Yeah.
know about women, but men in particular, when we really totally bottle up our emotions, it eventually explodes outward, and that can
Yeah.
lead to things like the cops being called. So a man who is more open and
Yeah.
honest is gonna,
A broke up
yeah,
relationship. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want that. I mean, and women are bad about that.
yeah,
Some of us are. We are bad about holding in because we're so independent. Look, I'm one of those independent women that don't think I need a man for anything. Because there's a difference. I've always said this. There's a difference between needing a man and wanting a man, and I don't
yeah,
need one. I
right.
want because I can change my own flat tire. I can change my own oil in my lawnmower. That kind of
I'll
thing.
call you when
But
I'm in the
it's
middle
just
of it.
always good. Yeah. But it's always good to just find that outlet for yourself. And whether it's journaling, journal about it. If you can't, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't get somebody on the phone or Facebook or whatever, then
I
journal. There's always
I
an
do that
out.
sometimes. Is I open up a Word document and I journal that way, and then that way it's
Yeah.
I can always just reflect on it, even years
On
down
the
the line. I
reels.
can look back and just look at what I wrote.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I
Okay,
appreciate your
perfect.
time today. I hope that we'll get together. We're going to do another
Okay,
episode and kind of go over more about men's relationships,
okay.
masculinity,
Yep,
those types of things. But today, I really wanted to hit on this because I thought it was very interesting, very needed that men are facing a loneliness epidemic. And why is that, and how we can get around it. So we'll get together and plan a time to do our next gathering show,
okay.
whatever. And then I'll get this one uploaded. And if y'all have any questions, just reach out to either one of us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Goodbye, Shirley.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the second part of the episode on the loneliness epidemic that the men are facing today. If you have any questions or comments or show suggestions, please reach out. My email is listed below in the comments. Also, like, share, follow, and I'll see you next time.